Namibians, because you cannot claim to be a Namibian, yet you don't love other Namibians. So that is our argument here.
Yeah, but Mike, the issue is affordability. Because even if you say you service how many plots, you are still going to sell these houses to a few hundred thousands. And that now still exclude a street vendor from owning a house. Because a street vendor is not able to get that 100,000.
No, so here's the thing. You see, land is not something that moves around. Let me give you a practical example, Franz. If I give you a plot today, why should I be in a hurry for you to pay that 100,000? Let us come up with innovative models to say, okay, Tate Franz, the plot costed us 120,000 to put services on it. However, because we understand you only sell Kapana, can you please pay us 500 Namibian dollars per month for the next 10 years or for the next 15 years? Because the land is going to remain there, whether it is today, whether it is tomorrow, whether it is 100 years from now. So why must the government be in such a hurry to recover that cost of the services that they've put in? So we must be able to find a pragmatic manner in which people are able to be afforded a chance for them to do monthly payments. Yes, that cleaner working for government at Onanjokwe perhaps does not have the 100,000 cash. But surely that cleaner can afford from her monthly salary to be deducted the 700 that will be going towards the payment of her land. And should the event be one day that she retires and she's unable to continue making payments, then surely we can have a policy to say once you are a pensioner, you have reached the age of 60, we sort of give a waiver to cancel out any debts that you have on that particular land, and then the land is given to you. So there must be ways in which we can find practical ways for our people who are unable to access financing to be able to pay some of these things. Now, the argument is always this, to say we allow people to be paying off other people's mortgages with these rentals. But that same individual apparently does not qualify to have their own home. Who sets these criteria? And when the banks come up with these models to say, no, a house and a car cannot be compared to be the same. Franz, if the bank is going to loan me 1 million, that 1 million must just be viewed as a million, irrespective of whether that million went to buy a car or whether that million went to buy a house. The same method that is used to calculate for a vehicle payment to be paid off in 5 years, then why can't that same model not apply to a house? The bank will come up with all sorts of things, they come up with all sorts of theories, and that is because we have institutions that somehow appear to be toothless, because it cannot be correct that we have an institution called the Bank of Namibia that is supposed to be regulating banks, but it appears to me that it is the commercial banks that are regulating Bank of Namibia. So that simply means that our institutions are either utterly useless or they are utterly just toothless, and we just have institutions in mouth, but these institutions are unable to rein in these greedy banks that are just for profit driven, and they somehow do nothing for society. Because let us be practically honest with one another. What good do banks do for society apart from milking us with high charges? They do absolutely nothing. So perhaps we must be able to evaluate and say, do we honestly need banks, or must government come in and government must take ownership of these banks, and then we have state-owned controlled banks that are not profit-driven, but they are driven for the interest of the people. Because right now, the banks that we currently have, they are the ones who are here. As soon as you default on your loan that you have been paying off for 20 years, they don't even say, Kucha, no, listen here, you have paid your house for this long. Perhaps is there a way we can arrange for you to give you a payment holiday? They just immediately begin saying, we are coming to repossess your house. So I think that is a bit unfair. It is inhumane. It's a form of cruelty. And if one has to view the model in which our banks still operate, I think they border on the lines of colonialism and slavery. And unfortunately, they must be brought to book and they must be regulated, because this thing can no longer be allowed where these guys just run around like it's the wild, wild west.
Right. Michael Mshelelo, thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure.
For a point you have given us on housing, let's hear from what the listeners will have to say on this point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that was Michael Mshelelo, one of the people that are at the helm of, when it comes to, there will be no land grabbing if Michael Mshelelo is not there. So that's why I call him the most dramatic Saddam Mshelelo. Now, what do you have to say? 083-288-401, that's the number in studio. If you want to be part of the conversation, this is Friday edition of Unpacking. And we continue. We still have a lot to talk about, but who am I not to open the lines this time? It is 21 minutes to 8, and that's 8 o'clock is going to be the last hour. 9 o'clock I'll be out of here, and today, because it is Friday, it's a good Friday. I don't want to say a lot of things. So we had SME, small and medium, entrepreneur bank. It was eaten up. So if the government comes up with a bank, will it not be eaten up when the government is not even able to manage its medical store? The government medical store cannot be managed. Medicine is disappearing. How much more if it becomes a government bank? Are we not going to wake up one day, the bank, somebody has banked the whole money. The entire bank is gone in a smoke. Now that means that almost, I think, corruption is almost becoming systemic. In these 2 years, like 2025, it seems that things are becoming, things are deteriorating when it comes to, especially, the health sector. The health sector is a most hard hit when it comes to this, because if the Anti-Corruption Commission is not even able to investigate the disappearing, the medicine at the medical store, then that tells you a lot. That tells you a lot. So if government comes up with a bank, are we not going to wake up to hear that there are people arrested already? That they've taken the bank down. The bank has been taken down. Are we not going to hear people arrested for taking the bank down? For banning the whole bank? So that's where we stand. And in fact, part of what Michael Mshelelo said was said by the Minister of Urban and Rural Housing, or Urban and Rural Development. James Sankwasa in Parliament. He was saying, who is regulating the banks? And it seems because these banks are not Namibian banks. These are foreign banks. They are not Namibians. So these banks are from South Africa. And he was saying that because we don't have a bank of our own, it is difficult to regulate these banks because they are not our banks. And the banks can come up with their own charges, and which means the Namibians are at the mercy of whatever charges any bank can come up with. Now, that's not even, we cannot even crucify banks alone. Even a parastatal, Namibian parastatal. Look at the rates that they are giving when it comes to recharging. How much do you get for a $10 recharge? We're talking to MTC about that. Before we even jump on the banks and talk about banks, let's look at our own parastatal, which are Namibian, companies, the state-owned companies. Look at how much electricity is now. And in 2002, I remember that you used to buy electricity for $10 and you get 20 units in $10. From 2002 to 2026, how many years is that? That's 24 years. In 24 years, you have 37 units now in $100. So even state-owned, enterprises or state-owned, organizations, or even parastatals, they are also not sparing anyone. So it's a capitalist world with inflation. It's an inflation world. So if the house was costing 60,000 in 1996, how did it come to 3 million in 2026? That is in 23 years. Or in almost 30 years. It is something that, worrisome, because in 1996, I remember bread was how much? Bread was 90 cents. We used to buy bread at 90 cents in 1996 before it became $1. No, I found it at $1.80. $1.80 before it became $2. Before it jumped to $2.50. Taxi from Oshakati to Ongwediva was $3. You pay $3 taxi from Ongwediva to Oshakati before it became $3.50 in 1997. So that's a price. But how much do you pay now from Oshakati to? And my uncle was telling me that with a Bantam in 1998, he used to fill it at $100 and something or $200 full tank. So because he used to to work in Mariental, from Mariental to Katima, if he puts full tank. In fact, I was debating with him because he was telling me that $65 could fill a tank in the 90s. So I was debating with him. Now, the prices have jumped. Even the cars were costing, 10,000, 20,000 to buy a car. Now you cannot buy a car at 20,000. So it's inflation. Right. We go for a short break, but don't forget you can call in. The number in studio is 083-288-8401. You can call in if you want to be part of the conversation. If you have something to say on housing, what can we do to make sure housing is affordable?
My friend, why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Simon, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere countrywide to broadcast live at any event, such as a promotion, organizational launch, anniversary, wedding, funeral, political or traditional and church events, and basically any event that you wish to broadcast on a national level. Call them now and talk to Monica at 081-270-3727 or the office number 083-288-400. Eagle FM, the eye.
No matter where you are, if you have a mobile device, you can tune into Namibia's #1 talk radio station by downloading the Eagle FM app on the Google Play Store or on the Apple App Store. Download the Eagle FM app to tune into live Eagle FM programming or to listen to podcasts of previous broadcasts. Eagle FM, Namibia's #1 talk radio station.
All right. 10 minutes into the hour of 8 o'clock. We've been talking about the difficulties of having one economy in Africa. And we now talk about the difficulties of owning a house in Namibia. Now, maybe if we connect it to say, okay, now let's say is the Africa Free Trade Area. And foreigners come to Namibia, they will buy more houses than the locals, because maybe the foreign people will have more money, to come and settle in Namibia, and they buy houses. So, when it comes to land, then Namibia and South Africa. Namibia, South Africa, Zimbabwe. Those three countries are the only countries that have land issues in SADC. In Angola, in Zambia, in Malawi, Mozambique, Madagascar, they don't have land issues. It is easy for you to acquire land and buy and build your own house. In Zambia, it's very easy to get land and build your own house. But Namibia is very difficult because our land issue is embedded into colonial past. Because the way independence was achieved in Namibia, in South Africa, and in Zimbabwe is different from the way independence was achieved in the rest of the SADC countries. Because in Zambia, the British decided, guys, take, it's your country. They left it intact. But in Zimbabwe, next door, the British, when they left, the white settlers, the British settlers that were in Zimbabwe, refused to follow the British order on how they should give land back, on how they should. That's why the Zimbabwean whites were sanctioned by the British. And then they linked up with the South African, government, white government. That is what supported the, Ian Smith and others, because Ian Smith was sanctioned by the British. The British, in as much as they did what they did, which is when it comes to colonialism, the better colonizers were the British, because their model of the model of colonizing was totally different from the rest. So they were more humane than the rest. They were more humane than the South African white government, for example, or than the French and the Portuguese. But the South African white government was also more humane than the French and the Portuguese. You need to look at countries that were colonized by France. That those countries don't even have shape. You need to look at countries that were colonized by Portugal, and you see the state in which they were left. But if you look at Malawi, Zimbabwe, Zambia, at least Tanzania, and also not really. Let me exclude Tanzania for a reason. Let's talk about Kenya. And you look at countries that were colonized by Britain, how it is, they gave it all to independence. They gave it all. We are living, and we are giving you everything. You mess your economy up yourself, but we are leaving it up to you. We are leaving it all to you. But South Africa and Zimbabwe, in Namibia, it was not the case. South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Namibia, independence is yours politically, but economically, you are not independent. The economy is ours. Land is ours. So that's what made it difficult for anyone to have land in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, and in Namibia. In fact, Namibia and South Africa are the most unequal countries in the world. And that is not a white and black problem. It's both, because there are black people that have become elite, that are richer, and they are acquiring more. So the rich is the richest and continue to be richer and richer. And the poor is the poorest and continues to be poor and more poorer. That's a model of life in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, and in Namibia. But countries like Lesotho, like Eswatini, and Botswana, it is, once you are a citizen, you can get land easily, because that land is theirs entirely. There is no genealogical white, land ownership the way it is in South Africa and in Namibia. So that's why at some point the whites in Zimbabwe and the whites in South Africa were at some point sanctioned, because
Do you need toiletries and household cleaners? You won't get it cheaper than at USave up to the 7th of June. Get 250mm jars of Vaseline for only 25 Namibian dollars. Smell fresh with Playboy Roll-On deodorant for just 18.99 Namibian dollars. Get 2 kilograms of Surf's hand washing powder for just 49.99 Namibian dollars. Get 750ml Sunlight dishwashing liquid for 28.99 Namibian dollars. And get 2 boxes of Cares Maxi sanitary pads for only 12.99 Namibian dollars. USave, where else?
My friend, why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Simon, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere countrywide to broadcast live at any event, such as a promotion, organizational launch, anniversary, wedding, funeral, political or traditional and church events, and basically any event that you wish to broadcast on a national level. Call them now and talk to Monica at 081 270 3727 or the office number 083 2888 400. Eagle FM, the eye.
No matter where you are, if you have a mobile device, you can tune into Namibia's #1 talk radio station by downloading the Eagle FM app on the Google Play Store or on the Apple App Store. Download the Eagle FM app to tune into live Eagle FM programming or to listen to podcasts of previous broadcasts. Eagle FM, Namibia's #1 talk radio station.
All right, it's 8 o'clock. So the West started to realize, because that time it was the Cold War era in the 80s and late 70s, early 80s. It was during the Cold War when the Cold War was becoming hot. Now the West could not afford SADC to fall into the hands of communism. And then the British and the Americans, which were the key figures, which are the key figures, in fact, of the West, Anglo-Saxons. They wanted to ease up on certain things. But then they were having a knife almost on their back. That was the South African white government and the Zimbabwean white government. These two guys were a problem to the West, because these guys were unprofessional in their colonialization model. And that is what the West wanted to deal with. Because this model, as long as it stood, it was enough reason why communism should come to SADC. So to nip that in the bud, or to nip that in the nice, they decided, look, we are going to sanction Zimbabwe and South Africa. So we are going to sanction them. They wanted to show some solidarity to the so-called liberation movements by that time. And in fact, it worked, because all liberation movements opted to be democratic at the end. So they opted to be democratic at the end, because they saw that, even America is sanctioning South Africa. for the apartheid, model of governance, then I think democracy is the way to go. They decided, backdoor channel agreement, SWAPO, ANC, Chama cha Mapinduzi, not Chama cha Mapinduzi because Chama cha Mapinduzi was already free. SWAPO, ANC, and ZANU-PF. They decided they were going to be democratic. Well, SWAPO can sing with their communism all they want, but SWAPO is not communist. Neither is it socialist. SWAPO is democratic. They can sing it all they want in their songs. But that SWAPO is not communist. SWAPO is not socialistic. SWAPO is democratic. And in fact, they fully adopted a Western governance model. When you look at the Constitution is one of the best constitutions we ever have produced in Africa, if not the world. So ANC can talk about communism and socialist or the socialism all they want, but they are not, because constitutionally South Africa is a child of the West. So that's what complicated things, because the land issue is as very complicated as it can be, and there is no single shot to it. There is no single shot to solve it. The willing buyer, willing seller was SWAPO government admitting at that point that they in fact have lost the land war. So that's why the first government came up with a willing buyer, willing seller, which worked to a certain extent, because some white people, white farmers started to cooperate with the government and sell. And they sold some sold their land, but some did not. And if they are selling, they will sell it very high, and the government will not be able to afford. And that ends there, because at the end of the day, it's a willing seller, willing buyer. So there is no model in that can work in Namibia and South Africa to solve the land issue. Zimbabwe tried it the hard way and faced it off. And that's why when the government of Emmerson Mnangagwa came to power, they wanted to do what? They wanted to correct the mistake. But they wanted to correct the mistake they made in the 2000s by taking land by force. They now started to restore the land, to take back land. But the current president of Zimbabwe was at the helm of that exercise during his predecessor's government. In fact, he has been in power in government ever since independence of Zimbabwe. So he was the Gengob of Zimbabwe. Good morning.
Tante Frank.
Yes.
Morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Good.
Willing buyer and the willing seller is just a remix of a market force, demand and supply. They just try to refresh it.
Okay.
Yeah, they just try to, let me quickly, Just reverse it. Yeah. They just try to reverse it the same way they said they hide the concept of property, land as a property. They in the Constitution, it's not really there directly in Article 16. They said it's a property, but in terms of definition, you could really see that land is a property. When they protect the property in the Constitution in Article 18, meaning they protect the land. And you have to ask now who at the time now own vast of the land. That's why here the government was just repaired property.
And that cannot be amended.
No, I know that, look, there's nothing wrong with the Constitution. And because you at the time, the problem is like the government does not want to admit that they lost, that the land is not coming back. And you still find the politicians apparently experiencing land without compensation. Bossa, that cannot work. That's a honest opinion I will give you. And our politicians and everybody in the swamp and everybody, they don't want to admit that land coming back. That's why for me the formula is just straightforward to say, look, just make land productive. That's the way forward. Anything that you are trying to do, because when land is productive, it provides food, it's providing employment, it provides finance, both for foreign, because when you have supplies, you export, and all of that. At the end of the day, the way forward is to make land productive. So these things of apparently we are just there that this is politics, but we cannot be playing politics if we really want to grow the economy. Land is not going to come back. Nobody is going to take land without compensation. That's why, as we were saying, the only way to protect land, because there is still a systematic in the country. Back then it was through the war on the gun. Now through the proclamation of water, towns, because you are extending that colonial, new colonialism in land dispossession. This is where our people don't understand. That's why we are saying, look, if you have to proclaim a town, you have to give the rights to the people first, instead of paying them what you call a compensation. So that you just give them title deed, then you let the people to deal with their land the way they want in terms of the urban planning and something. That's where the politicians that didn't want to go, because they are part of the parcel of the political elite and economic elite and the global elite that want to dispossess people of their land in a modern day. So, that's why when they go to say, apparently willing buyer, willing seller. No! Those who understand economy and who also from us who came from a decolonization class, we understand that that's just a simple term of economic market, demand and supply. If I ask you, who is a willing seller? It's a supply of the land, the person who has the land. Who is a willing buyer? Is a consumer, the person who wants the land. And who has the land? Is the white, is the colonial, the former colonializer. And who are demanding the land? Is the black majority, including even the new colonizer that you call the politicians, the modern day. Let's be frank with these things, and let's be also straight talk with these things. We should not be here trying to sugarcoat it. And I must also tell you that there is no better or bad colonialism. Colonialism is just colonialism. We must not try to rephrase these things. Colonialism is just colonialism, because the ultimate goal is one. Even if you say, look, maybe the French were bad in those countries, then maybe the Boers and what they were good. Here, what do we have? Why are we complaining? Why don't we have the land? Why unemployment and everything? Because colonialism is not all about gun and something. It has to do with the mind. Because even after people have pretend to be independent
Why are they not reversing those most of the colonial law? Why they are not even removing the what? the red line? My friend, those things you people called it to say, apparently communism or democratic. My friend, you need to understand that every system of government was only trying to answer one question. The contestation was only one. Like, who must own the factor of property of right? That was the best consideration. And it must answer one question. Who must own factor of production? That's where the question of property of right coming in. Simple like that. You can say whether Swap is democratic and what. Just go straight in the policies and ask the people. And this is what people need to understand. So there is no system of government in the world that is going to work if you cannot give property of right to the people and democracy in the modern society that we are talking right now. If you cannot, your system cannot offer those two things, forget about everything. Nobody's going to support you. That's why that is the reason why communism collapsed in Russia. Because during the Cold War, they were there fighting while the Americans were pushing democratic rights, campaigning for democratic rights in those countries. When people realize that, look, the democracy which has been given by the Americans, it gives property of rights and democracy. People buy in and people started demonstrating in those communist countries. Russia has no right but to run away from the global, war conflict and go defend the mainland Russia. That's why you see, you go in China today, you go in Russia. Property of rights is there. They only play around with what? Democracy. They have democracy with their own features that allow people to compete inside. Not maybe in Russia, in China, you might not see the general, people going to elect the president. But there is a group of people and structure that compete for presidency. Let me end there, Franz.
Thank you very much. All right, 083-288-8401. That's the number in studio. Those who are decolonized. Are you decolonized or recolonized? It's another debate for another day. But whatever it is, we know that SWAPO, when they came to power, they realized they cannot find a one single shot, a one size fits all for the land issue. And then they admitted that they have lost the battle by coming up with willing buyer, willing seller. Willing buyer, willing seller is an admission of the black government that they cannot fight the land war and win it without economic ramifications. So, because what happened in South Africa happened in Namibia, it happened in Zimbabwe. It was to say politically you guys will be free, but economically all these things that we have are ours. Because these are the systems that are built by our grandfathers. You guys cannot have them just walking. It is not just going to be a walk in the park. That's what we are facing in this country. But when I say the British were better, it's because of the way they left countries. They left the countries intact when it comes to infrastructure. Countries had where to start. Countries had where to start. You must go to certain countries and see for yourself. what I'm talking about. Because France and Portugal, if you guys were colonized by France and Portugal, you would have known. If there is any person that is listening now that is coming from those countries, you can call in and tell these people what I'm talking about. You know, when people come from those countries and they come in this region, in SADC, you know that SADC is the only region in Africa where you have the lowest, very scarce, cases of load shedding. Or let me say Namibia in particular. In Namibia, you wake up at 3 o'clock, you can still charge your phone. You wake up at 3 o'clock, you can still buy bread at the service station. You can still buy sugar. You don't buy sugar everywhere in many countries. You don't buy sugar everywhere. So that's what I'm talking about. And when you look at the white people, even here in Namibia, to be specific, we talk about the Afrikaner whites, or even the Germans that are here. If you look at these people, they seem disconnected from society. They don't come, few of them maybe will come for national days or national events. But the good thing about this Afrikaner whites, their economy is in here. They contribute to the local economy. They have the local businesses in here and mostly employ local people. So they mostly employ local people and they contribute to the local economy. So sometimes when we talk about issues, we should try to maybe remove the Pan-African jacket. Because the problem with Pan-African mentality is we look at issues negatively all the time. And we place ourselves all the time as victims. We are victims, of course. But it doesn't end there. And being a victim does not mean you are innocent. So being a victim does not mean you are innocent. And this is even what the Ministry of Gender and the police need to understand when it comes to gender-based violence. Because the picture they paint is that women are 100% innocent and they are 100% victim, which is false and it's a lie. It's not just false, it's not just a lie, it's a dangerous picture. And it's a dangerous undertone they set. Because now a man is 100% guilty and 100% eligible for arrest. The arrest is immediate, which is totally corrosive. And this is the same mentality that Pan-Africanists have. And most people that claim to be decolonized, they have this mentality of thinking that they are victims and innocent all the time. And that prevents us from seeing the bigger picture in issues. And we cannot monopolize situation and think that the situation must just be interpreted from this angle. If you're not a Pan-Africanist, you are still colonized. We are decolonized. There's nothing like that. Because most people that claim to be decolonized, they are still using Western, the same thing that they are decolonized from. The same thing that they claim to be decolonized from, they are still using those things. Because the thing that Pan-Africanists fail to admit and realize is that the world has always coexisted. There is no singular place in the world that was totally isolated from the other. There's nothing like that in history. The world has always been coexisting. And whether we like it or not, we are going to find ourselves using a Chinese method, and the Chinese using American methods, or Russians using African way of doing things in one aspect or the other, because the world has always coexisted. And this is one thing that is refusing to get in the mind of a Pan-Africanist. So, if we become religious about situations, we will deprive ourselves of the advantage of, having a multipolar understanding of the situation. So that's why myself as an individual, I disassociate myself from being part of a certain organization and a certain group, or belonging to a certain school of thought, because I want to understand life in a multidimensional way. So Pan-Africanism never existed until maybe 100 years ago, or some 70 years ago, or 60 years ago. So we can use it as a model of, we can use it as a basis to interpret African situation, because Africa is bigger than that. All right. 26 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock. The number in studio is 0832888401. We are talking about what can we do? Is there any solution to the land issue? Are we able to solve the land situation? What can we do to make housing affordable? Because now when we talk about affordable houses, and everyone is coming up is claiming to have found the solution at the housing, and then you say, no, the house is, we are not going to use the bank, or we are going to use our own model, before you know, they ask you a bank statement. Now, these are the same people that are saying they are not going to use a bank. But now, you are asking me for a bank statement for me to qualify for your house. So what are we talking about? What are we saying? Are we using
limonene akulolo internet yendelela toitulirwa moshali ove tokhupifana tango shimaliwa shifike pedola danamibia omaovi avali nomathele 5 okuja mefiku latetela aguste fyo momafiku 30 a septemba itokapula ofuta oshimaliwa shonumba okutulirwa mweyakulolo engenge owelishangifwa kontrakta keshe yo Pirates Fiber ile Skyfi ototulirwa mweyakulo lipelo internet khupifa fyo pedola danamibia omaovi avali nomathele 5 omeumbo ilo mongeshefa eyakulo olinongushu talela po pirates.africa/namibia nde tolishangifa nena.
Always prepared. Pirates.
No matter where you are, if you have a mobile device, you can tune into Namibia's #1 talk radio station by downloading the Eagle FM app on the Google Play Store or on the Apple App Store. Download the Eagle FM app to tune into live Eagle FM programming or to listen to podcasts of previous broadcasts. Eagle FM, Namibia's #1 talk radio station.
Are we taking advantage of people's immediate situation? Are we taking advantage of people's immediate situation by saying we are going to introduce low-cost housing? Low cost. What do we mean by low cost? Lower than $1 million? And if it is lower than $1 million, you already have kicked out a lot of people that cannot afford. And let alone your requirements. Because you are also you are saying you are not going to go through the bank or using bank models, but you are asking for a banking statement, a bank statement, 3 months or maybe 6 months bank statement. Are you not already using the bank? So is there any way to deal with housing without using the bank? Because some years ago there was another organization that came up to say they were going to provide cheaper houses, and people flocked. They realized they cannot afford, and then now we don't hear it anymore. So everyone comes up with low cost, and then we don't hear it anymore. So that is that's a predicament in which we are. So the question for today is that what can be done, or is there any solution to this land issue? Or is there any solution to this housing deadlock? The point that even parliamentarians don't have a house, apparently, according to some report. That's what 2022, news. We're talking about not having accommodation. Okay, so lastly, it is 29 minutes to 9 o'clock. It's 29 minutes to 9. The number in studio is 083-288-401. You still have time for you to air your views, and also maybe just try to provide some solution to the crisis that we are facing as far as housing is concerned. I always like to give historical background to issues so that we understand. The president had a conference or a breakfast meeting at NIPAM. Meeting heads of, state-owned enterprises, CEOs and so forth. But then the president was disappointed because she thought the meeting was going to be private, just them, her and the CEOs. But then the people made the meeting to be public, and the president is saying, how do I make a meeting with the whole country on this issue? Yes.
Yes, Dr. France.
Morning.
Yes, morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm alright, man.
Yes.
Complain, but we have to complain.
Mm.
Oh, we have to come up with points and suggestions. Yeah, Master France, when it comes to housing and the land delivery, I think when you look at Namibia and South Africa, when it comes to land, is that I think our people after independence will become greedy when it comes to the distribution of the rent. Because most of the people, when they are talking about the land, they think we have to grab the farm from the white people and so on. But the person just asking a 500 meter just to build a house, to have a roof on top of the head where you are going to sleep. Or when you live in this earth, at least your kids have something to call home. But same like in Namibia, we only have that's the only land which you are demarcated.
Your own plot.
But when
the free plot.
Yeah, the free plot. So that's the only one.
The one that you'll be sleeping on. You are just going to sleep forever and ever.
Yeah, forever and ever. Yeah, nobody will disturb you. But anyway, they will disturb you because we saw some. They are even start living among the dead. Somewhere in the robot is happening, and in the Oshakachi also, where people are putting their combustion there to the cemetery. You see now, where the people are supposed to rest in peace, but we are not going to rest in peace because now we are having this, their life among you guys who are gone. The problem I think we are having in Africa, and not in Africa, but especially in Namibia, is that we have small populations with a big land. And if you look, Master France, we cannot support to cry for land in Namibia. The way we are making, even just imagine, you are buying a plot, which is not even just services, and there's no structure, but you are buying for 1.5 million. How many of people are able to afford? If you are saying the study was done, and the most people who are employed in Namibia, they're earning more than, they're earning between 2,000 to 3,000. Majority. I'm talking about the majority now. How many of people are able to afford a rent which is costing 1.5? And when you buy, what are you going to build with? The problem is that we're having greedy people in Namibia. And this is not, we are looking at the skin color. No, these are our own people. It got nothing to do with skin color at all. They are just greedy, all of them. Whoever holding the title deeds, they become greedy because what they are doing now, they are using Ben to decolonize us. They are using the LA state to do that. Our brothers and sisters, when they are finished their school, they are going to land to their apartment where they develop. And that is the problem I think we have in Namibia. We can talk about what come up with this policy and whatever, but as long as we know we have a divided land, it's not going to work at our favor. And it is what is happening. Because now look, how can people like Amusero come up with what? Buy a land for you are depositing 1.5 thousand to 5 years. Then you end that plot of yours for 50,000. And they are talking about even like luxury plot. Because now if you are living somewhere in the airport, it's just not luxury. Not everybody wants to live near to the aeroplane, except some who don't like noise. But most people are preferring to live that side. But how come we have a municipality of Window who's even claiming to want to have what? Khorotob to be included in the municipality of Window. And I'm looking at that sometimes this municipality of Window, they need to make a provision, like to leave some of this less than to be in their own, running their own affairs. Because that's why we have a pothole with just meeting with the lane ended at what in somewhere in a period. But up to now, Mr. Franza, when you go to Katutura, around Katutura, those potholes are still visible. How many months are we going to have rain anytime? But when you have municipalities who want to claim Khoroto, Dorodab, somewhere around those farms and so on, that is a part of Window. But yet, you have a municipality of Window which is failing to give people a decent plot. I'm telling you, people who've been in the Kabas, Sans, and our independence, some maybe their parents are retired, their kids are still there in those campuses. You're talking about Korea, we're talking about Kanja Park, we're talking about Havana, Ondiri, and so on. When they are going to upgrade this location, the problem we are having here is, and sometimes I'm looking at this because it's got also to do with leadership. The leadership which you don't have, because once you have a person making decisions in favor for majority, things can happen anytime. But when you have a leader who is listening like me, the way I'm talking to you now, then we are not going anywhere. But if you have a leader who is having a command saying, tomorrow, when you wake up, everybody at 2 o'clock, they must have a brick. Kill a brick, then it's going to happen. That is a command. And that's the leadership sometimes which we need. We don't need a leadership who is always, okay, what can I do? Okay, maybe we have to come up with. No, not maybe we have to come up. Sometimes you have to take you have to direct the people what to say, to do. Not to say what they are going to tell them what they are going to do, but to tell them a command that that's what I'm going to do. I want you guys tomorrow to move this way. But if you look, what is happening? Why these things are only happening in South Africa and Namibia and Zimbabwe? Why is not happening in Angola or Zambia or Botswana? Because of this, like I can give you an example like Zambia. Zambia, I think they understand more democracy than us. Most is in SADC. Because what you see, sometimes they even change the way they are changing their part. You can see that it's These people understand democracy. Not like us, the way we are. You are listening like, no, what can I do? Oh, my parents, they are all dead from SWAPO. So I'll just continue the way the SWAPO, I'll continue. But your capacity is not removed. Not, I'm just saying a party or just an example. Of
no, but the person that is coming to remove your Kabashu is not SWAPO. It's a combination of political parties. And
I understand.
Yeah, the issue of being in SWAPO is a democratic choice of an individual.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so.
But this thing is, you know what? It's only happening now because it's where we see that now we are having a combination of democracy when it comes to leadership of the municipality. But those days, 100% SWAPO.
Yes, but when you look at 2020 in city of Windhoek, what did the progressive force say when they overthrew SWAPO majority in city of Windhoek?
And
they said what?
You know what?
They say no more removal of sharks. But what happened within a month? They removed more sharks than what SWAPO could have done.
Yeah. It's what I'm saying. Here, it's not about like individual. It's a whole bunch of people which are corrupt. And this what mostly this is what I'm saying. We are not going anywhere when we start using what to have behind the what bank and the real estate developer. Because our leaders, what they are doing. Most of you go to the what who own this flat. It's a cousin of who? Cousin who knows somebody. It's always like that. That's why we are having this problem of land delivery. How can you have a teacher who cannot afford even what? A house in Namibia, or a nurse, or a policeman? We are talking about the people with a career now, but they cannot afford a house. From there, do you think if a person like a nurse and teacher, they are failing to get a plot, do you think ordinarily like a taxi driver or security guard able to afford those houses? It's an issue which I'm telling you that we need to start developing the way. I don't know how Amuselelo come up with a Momo to have a plot which can cost 50,000. Why our government can fail that, but Amuselelo can find that a loophole which our government cannot fund to do that for their own people. Anyway, Mr. France, let me give other people a chance.
Thank you very much. Right. You can do the same, 083-288-401. That is the number in studio if you want to be part of the conversation, 083-288-401. It's a number in studio. So, okay. At least, if that is true what Mshelelo and Amoma have come up to say, you pay 1.5, at least many people can afford the 1.5 per month. Or is what you are talking about to say, look, you can pay 700, 500 per month, then we'll give you have your piece of land. You can put it's your place. Put your water, electricity there. Yeah, it's your place. Yeah, that can work. But for profit, driven entities should not also be deprived of the right. If the people can afford millions of dollars to buy houses, let it work. So, and everyone should focus on their target, market. Yeah. Anyone can because this is a mixed economy. And there are things that the government can regulate to protect citizens. Maybe there are things that the government cannot regulate. Because the government, in as much as it needs to protect citizens, government also needs to protect itself. Because if you become too loud and you don't have power, well, you follow Nicolas Maduro. And African leaders understand that very well. That if you are too loud, while you don't have power, you are going to follow Nicolas Maduro if you don't follow Gaddafi. And African leaders understand that very well. We go for a short break, and then we come and do our last.
My friend, why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Simon, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere countrywide to broadcast live at any event, such as a promotion, organizational launch, anniversary, wedding, funeral, political or traditional and church events, and basically any event that you wish to broadcast on a national level. Call them now and talk to Monica at 081 270 3727 or the office number 083 2888 400. Eagle FM, the eye.
No matter where you are, if you have a mobile device, you can tune into Namibia's #1 talk radio station by downloading the Eagle FM app on the Google Play Store or on the Apple App Store. Download the Eagle FM app to tune into live Eagle FM programming or to listen to podcasts of previous broadcasts. Eagle FM, Namibia's #1 talk radio station.
All right, we continue. It's 11 minutes to 9. And 9 o'clock, we move out. Or I move out. I move out. Now, the president is disappointed because she thought the meeting was going to be private so that she may talk to the CEOs alone. But then it became public, where everyone was invited. Now, the president at that level cannot talk to everyone because the breakfast meeting was supposed to be between the president and the CEOs and, directors of state-owned enterprises. So it ended up being a meeting for everyone. And now the president said she cannot make a meeting with the whole country at that level. But anyway, she also went on by saying any CEO and leader of any state-owned enterprise must present a presentation to the president within 24 months plan on how they intend to turn the tide on their organizations that they are leading. Yeah, so and the president promises to say she's going to be disruptive for the sake of the nation. So she's going to be disruptive. Yeah. So there is a problem. There is a problem when it comes to, state-owned enterprises, because most of them are just bailed out, year in, year out. They are not making money. But the good news is that while we are there making money, Namib Air was given license for 5 years. Now they can purchase planes and aircraft. And apparently their first flight will even take on their first flight will take place or will take off by December 1st. Okay? So if Namibia, when Namibia is going to have a Namibian airliner, we are going to see whether the minister will regulate the price properly so that people can afford to fly to Ondangwa. This time, I'm going to fly to somewhere with Namibia Air. Because sometimes we complain, no, Namibia closed. Namibia closed, yes, because you did not use it. Maybe if you used it, it could have lasted long. You see, even if we have hotels that will close tomorrow, hotels that are closing, God forbid, is just an example. And hotels close. There are no more hotels in Namibia. We who don't go to those hotels, we don't eat out on those hotels, we don't sleep in those hotels, we come on air and complain that the hotels are closing down. Oh, Namibia, there's no development here. Even hotels are closing down. But you have never been in a hotel yourself. You have never slept in a hotel, no, let alone even eat out. So you want a hotel to stay open for who? That's how we complain, and we say, no, certain type of fish are not, certain types of fish are not sold in our local market. They're just exported out, because we don't even eat certain type of fish here in Namibia. But you ask the person, what type of fish in Namibia? What type of fish are those that are not eaten in Namibia? That person cannot provide you with an answer. But they are saying boldly, no, there are certain fish that are not sold in Namibia. What type of fish are you talking about? That person cannot tell you. Do you know all the fish? Have you bought all the fish that are currently on the market now? You only buy masbanger. When you go to the shop, you only go and buy horse mackerel, the one that you call masbanger. That's the only fish you know. Now, you want the other fish to come in the market for whom? Who is going to buy those type of fish? If you only buy one type of fish, that's the only fish you know. To the point that we are even calling certain fish Oshiwambo fish. So if the person is only used to Oshiwambo fish, and this person is the same complaining that there are some fish that is not eaten in Namibia, is just exported outside, what are we talking about? We have a tendency of just talking. We have a tendency of just talking, just for the sake of talking. That's why we make meetings and conferences and seminars just to talk and nothing. We talk, no implementation, just for us to be keynote speakers at organizations, at events, but nothing comes out of the talk. Because we are talkaticians. We are talkers and not doers. Or we talk about the walk. Well, we are going to walk. Oh, the way we are going to walk with this way, this path. We look at the path and we talk about the way we are going to walk in, and then we continue sitting. And then at the end of the day, I want the result. You want the result from where? Nobody walked, bro. Everyone has been sitting, including yourself. So you can't come and demand the result. Say, okay, did we arrive? Arrive to where? We did not arrive. We did not walk. We were talking. We didn't walk. We have not walked. We only talked. Because we think talking is walking. Some people, when they see the path, they will walk it first and then talk about it when they arrived. Say, the way we walked. They are talking about their journey when they arrived. But in Africa, we talk about the journey we did not walk. So we talk about the path we did not yet walk. Or we talk about the path we will never walk. So, and some people will walk. And when they arrive the other side, they say, hey, we walked. So they know how near or how far because they are walking it. They are walking and talking. But we are talking and we are talking, but we are not walking. And then at the end of the day, we want we want a feeling of, we want to feel that we have arrived when we did not walk. So that's a problem, and the president will keep making conferences with CEOs. We'll keep making one breakfast after the other. But until she takes a decisive, action to say, guys, if you cannot perform, out. Just to instruct the ministers to say, guys, get all these CEOs that are not performing, get them out. And that's why the minister Sankwasa refused to approve the Rundu CEO, the renewal of the contract, and the CEO of Katima, because the minister said the town council must produce the result of his work first, and it seems that the town council failed to do that, so the minister did not renew his. So something like that must be done across the board as far as all government agencies are concerned. That should be the decisive action. And everyone knows that if you don't perform, you are out. All right. This has been the show. Let's meet again on Monday. Same time, same frequency. Stay tuned for Kuthamasha.
My friend, why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Simon, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere, countrywide,